In true experience, there can be no mind. Because when the mind is present and you're looking at, let's say, a tree, then you won't see the tree, you will see the mind. When the mind is present, all we see in the world is the mind, without us knowing it. When the mind is present, there is always time. The mind cannot be present without the presence of time. When the mind is present, and therefore time, then the past, the present, and the future seems to be all three present right now. And they seem to be all present in the same intensity. But the least significant is the present, because the past is so much bigger and the future is so much bigger. The present, what happens in the present really, in comparison to the past and the future? Very little. That is the perception of the mind. Because then the present is so, the past is so present, and the future is so present, that it takes up more significance than the present itself. But when the mind is not present, which is required for true experience, then the present itself seems to expand because it expands in your consciousness. So when something expands in your consciousness, then more details become visible of that. So it seems to become bigger, it seems to become more detailed, it seems to give off more of its information. Of course, it always is the way it is, but it becomes more represented in your consciousness. And then if you sink more into that, it will become visible that the present is of course vastly, vastly, vastly more significant than past and future, because past and future are just perceptions in your own mind, which can be used as a tool and will never be lost. Even when the present becomes so represented in your consciousness that there seems to be no more thoughts whatsoever, then still nothing is lost. Nothing can ever be lost. You see, if I ask you right now if you can imagine the gates of your high school, can you see them? The gates or the door where you used to walk in, can you see it? Well, most people can. Now, before I asked that question, those gates or that door, was that in your consciousness? Or was it completely absent? It was absent, right? Now, it was absent, but it does not mean that it's lost. You see, all of your memories, all of your thoughts are like stored in a database, you could say. It's in the cloud up there, it's stored somewhere and can be used whenever necessary. That never changes, unless you maybe have brain damage or something. But when you awaken into the present moment and you sink into it and it becomes larger and larger in your consciousness, and there's no more trace of past and future, and the isness of the moment gives off all of its details and beauty and information to you, then even in that state, even if you would be in that state forever, then still none of your concepts would ever be lost. But now back to experience itself. It's clear to see, I think, for everybody that you only ever experience something when you're experiencing it. So that means in the moment. You don't experience something yesterday or tomorrow. You only experience something now, right? So that also means that the more the now is represented in your consciousness, the more of that which you are experiencing will be revealing itself, right? Isn't that logical? That goes so far as when the mind is present, past and future, and knowledge, then whatever you experience is not what it is. You experience the mind completely, but you don't know that. And when you start to see that, and you start to be more present, then things that you experience can actually show themselves. And they show themselves in their very fleeting nature, in their very timeless essence, in their very effervescent, vibrant, alive, and non-materialistic nature. That is the nature of things. We make them real with our mind, which is a practical tool, like we've said a million times before, not a problem. It's the way a human brain works. But of course, it is only a tool. It is so paramount that humanity starts to become conscious of what it truly is. And that we can start to experience the world as it truly is. Because that is vastly, it's incomparable. I can't talk about it actually. That's something that we need to do. It's something that people need to wake up to. That's why you are watching these videos, because that is what you are doing. We cannot experience things as they are if mind is present, if past and future is present, because that's the indicator. There's no mind without past and future. Give yourself space to be just in the moment and sink into it. Let past and future for what it is. Sink into the moment.